Hello and welcome to the Musicians Weekly Volume 15. Today I speak about what makes good music criticism. So normally music critics, particularly today, will write a lot about opera, and this is much easier, I say, basically much easier than to write about symphonic music, about chamber music, about solo recitals or whatever. Why is that so? Because in opera, there is a lot you can write about, even if you have no idea about music. You can write about how the stage director made all this stuff up, about all the literary connections, about the singer's quality, about all these extra musical things in the first place, and then about the voices, and then finally maybe about the piece, about the music, about the style, about the orchestra playing and conducting and so on. So you normally only a little bit in the end of the review is left about music. But when you only write about music, it's not so easy. Of course, when you then come back and say, okay, I want to write seriously about music in the opera, then it becomes more difficult than with symphony or with chamber music or with solo piano or whatever, because then you have to take care about everything and the music. But as long as you can write about all these things, you can just leave the music mostly out of your review. But then when you write only about music, what do you have to know? What do you have to be able to? First of all, you have to train your perception first and last. This is the main thing. You have to train your ability to stay continuously with what is happening. And you have to train it like if you were a musician yourself. That means you have to train your correlation between all these things happening. So, of course, everybody normally knows some beginnings of pieces, but then how do they go on? How is everything interrelated? And this is only possible with focused and intense listening, without any kind of associations. And you cannot read about that. Of course, you can read and get some ideas, but the process of listening to music, the process of training your perception can only be done by you. And you have to do it. Otherwise, you will not be a good musician at all, of course, and you will not be a good music critic, and you will also not be able to be a really interesting partner in discussions. Because also there, talking about music, it can be small talk or it can be really relevant, what you say and what you think. So first of all, train your perception and be able to listen carefully, intensely to the whole piece as one organic, interrelated flow from beginning to end. And in best sense, if the composer was able to do that, if the performers are able to do that, then you are also able to experience the end and the beginning and the end, and every little section of the piece as part of the whole, and having the whole in every little section of the piece. That's the ideal. So that is what you have to train all your life, all the time. And of course, then there come new styles, new composers, things you never experienced. And this is very hard training, but it is worth. If you really seriously do that, you will have results and you will find your own standpoint, which is not what people normally say, oh, it's subjective, it's a question of taste or like that. No, it becomes more and more objective. Of course, we always are also subjective, but we fight for objectivity. And we have to do that because writing a review means writing for many people. And that's not just a question of speaking of your opinion, because then everybody could write and give his opinion. And people have many opinions about music, many opinions, even if you have no idea how it works. Because in a way, everybody thinks she's able to speak about music and to have a right on their own opinion. The same would not be the case with many kinds of sciences and with many things where we respect that there are people who know and that there are people who don't know. But about music, everybody thinks, I know. So you have to train that, and then you will have other kind of experiences. And then the second thing, when you are able to do that, is that you give an exact description of what you experienced. And that also you can do from the beginning if you want to be able to communicate to others what you experienced. Yeah, then start from the beginning. You can do it like a diary. You listen to a concert or a recording or whatever, and you write down in the most exact words and in the most beautiful words and in the most adequate words what you experience. And that is step 2. And in case then it makes sense, you can give a judgment. But this is absolutely unnecessary. A judgment can be done or not. So if you are able to exactly describe what you experienced, it is wonderful. It's already a review. And it is the best thing you can do for yourself, for others, for the musicians, for whoever. But if you want to give a judgment, then after all these stages are behind you, it is acceptable and you can do it. But what we have normally in music business, in music life, is that critics will not be able to listen really in a totally concentrated and open manner. That's very important. And will not be able to describe too closely musical facts, but will give a judgment. And that is what is expected from them. That's the problem. And particularly if you are a beginner as a critic, people expect from you that you are competent. And so your competence is normally, the proof of your competence you give with judgments and with comparisons. But comparisons are very difficult, and the longer I'm an open listener, the less I'm interested in comparisons. It makes sense if somebody is totally wrong with something that you say you're right, then that one could listen to this and this to get a better idea about how the music is, how it is, how this transition is, how the character is, and so on. But to compare from the beginning, it just leads us away from what is unique with this performance of this piece. And we should always experience the uniqueness. And then what is absolutely of basic importance in all the process from the beginning is that you are open-minded, yet that you never follow your convictions and opinions. Every time is a first time. And to take this risk and to be that courageous that you don't rely on your previous experiences and on the opinion of others and on authorities and on all these things, but you just trust what you perceive. You just trust in your experience. It will be authentic. And the longer you go, of course, in the beginning, you risk to be totally wrong. But in a way, you always risk to be wrong, whether you follow somebody or you don't follow somebody, whether you compare or you don't compare, whether you have strong convictions or you have no convictions, it doesn't matter. You can be wrong. You can be totally wrong. And therefore, please take the risk, be courageous, be authentic, be yourself, and just only write down what you really experienced. And your experience is what finally counts. And then your ability to bring your experience to paper. And if it is absolutely necessary to give a judgment, God forgive you. It can happen. It can happen. but it's not necessary. So this is the way. Let's go together.